everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Under Politics, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimalo in Abuja. Happy Workers' Day, everyone. And it's on that note that we begin the program tonight. Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark Workers' Day, otherwise called May Day, which is marked every 1st of May, every 1st of May. And so this year is not an exclusion. Across major states of the Federation, governments alongside workers and union groups took time to mark the day. In the nation's capital, Abuja, the Vice President, Professor Ayo Adebanjo, attended the Labor Day celebration where he hailed the resilient spirit of the Nigerian workers and urging labor unions not to view the government as its mortal enemy, but argue that its members or be part of members of one progressive family. Take a listen to the Vice President.
We are not unmindful of the anxieties of our children and their parents who are plagued by thoughts of an uncertain future as they stay home because universities have been struck by industrial action. And I want to appeal again to the academic staff union of universities and the broader labor community to seek the path of dialogue. Disagreement and debate have always been a part of the relationship between labor and government. But even as we disagree today, we must not do so as mortal adversaries, but as members of the same progressive family. We both want the same thing, a country that works for all, an education, especially a tertiary education system that works for all, a country that offers each citizen a fair deal, even if occasionally we differ on how to achieve this goal. But at all times, we have, through dialogue, found a path forward. It is in this spirit that I call on us to embrace dialogue with the government. And I call also on the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress to help facilitate a resolution of this dispute through dialogue. I believe that we can find a path forward in good faith. And this is what we must do.
That's the Vice President, Professor Ayo Adebanjo. Well, the President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Ayo Adebanjo, delivered a speech, and while doing that, he highlighted the challenges faced by the working class, blaming Nigeria's political elite for these challenges and accusing them of keeping the masses, workers, and the socio-economic struggles faced by Nigerians as footnotes in the 2023 political agenda. Take a listen to him.
Instead of addressing issues of physical security, addressing issues of social protection, issues of decent wages, unemployment and poverty eradication, fixing the economy, our political elite comrades are more interested in the political office zoning. It is only a fair political class that will keep citizens' concerned and issues of national development as footnotes in 2023 political agenda. The founding fathers of the labor movement of Nigeria did not see it on the fence, comrades, as the fight for the liberation of Nigeria from colonial forces raged on. It was workers and unions who were very, very alert. And I did say that workers were in the forefront of the struggle for our national independence. The campaign to free Nigeria from imperialist rule reigned in the shadow until the national strike action of June 1945, which was led by Labour leader number 1, led by Michael Imodu, that got us independence.
But as the President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Ayo Adebanjo, let's go into our conversation for tonight, everyone. As the 2023 elections approach, it appears Nigerians now focus more on the issues trailing the process, and perhaps some of the major national issues are taking the back seat because of the intensity of politics and activities of politicians. But obviously, the problems of the nation have not evaporated. They are still with us. That's the reality. Earlier in the week, the Pan-Yoruba socio-political organization, Afenifere, was advocating a government of national unity to midwife a new democratic government. The organization, in a communique signed by its national publicity secretary, Mr. Jare Ajayi, after a meeting held in Isanya Ogbo, the country home of the acting national leader of Afenifere, Ayo Adebanjo. It says that such government will salvage the country from insecurity, among others. Afenifere fought the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari over the government's capacity to address the precarious situation of the country, and therefore insisted that the country must be restructured before the 2023 general elections for it to progress. The call for government of an interim government was first muted by foremost lawyer and elder statesman Chief Afebabalola, who was asking for the setting up of an interim national government at the expiration of the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari on the 29th of May 2023 due to what he termed the frightening state of the nation. Tonight, we take some of the recommendations by Afenifere and explore possible solutions, because that's our focus and that's what we hope to achieve tonight by looking in details into those recommendations of Afenifere, how that match or solve the myriad of problems that the country presently faces. That means the noise of the 2023 politicking. Tonight, let's focus on getting the solutions, shall we? I'm being joined by a foremost Nigerian lawyer, leader of the Afenifere, a strong ally of the late nationalist and former premier of the Western Union, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, a restructuring advocate, Chief Ayo Adebanjo. He joins me from his home country, Isanya Ogbo, in Ogun State, southwest Nigeria. Thank you so much, Pa Adebanjo, for joining us tonight. It's a pleasure having you on this 1st of May. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me begin the conversation tonight by getting to understand what in the mind of Afenifere is a government of national unity.
Well, the circumstances of the country and the inertia of the government of Buhari has warranted my calling for a national government. It appears, as is known already, that Buhari's administration...
Okay, so I wanted to understand in details what Afenifere means by government of national unity, because I wanted to know also, what place does this have in the bodies of our laws, or what inspiration does it have? Does it have any deep inspiration in any part of our constitution?
My dear, when people begin to talk of what position it has, you often talk of a state of emergency in the country. A state of emergency that warrants drastic measure is not necessarily contained in the Constitution. It is because of the inefficiency and incompetence of the government and the unwillingness of the government to take advice from the leaders of the country who know better that we are calling for a government of national unity by which all shades of opinion must be represented in that government. This government has put that it has no clue to our problem. And every time we talk about change the government, change the constitution, there is no security, there is no, the economy is bad, the government, the Buhari government in particular, look dumb. And it doesn't understand the issue. And you have to understand the problem before you find a solution. And all wise men in the country, learned people, experienced people, who have been in the struggle before he came in, give him advice, he wouldn't listen. That is why we are calling for, if you continue like this, because until you change this constitution, it is the problem of the country. You won't get anywhere. And there's evidence that Buhari is not willing to. Because of my own view, he has a private agenda. But if you continue like this country will break. There's no doubt about that. So those of us who are anxious about keeping the country together in peace, are anxious that we should get people of nationalists, patriots, who don't want the country to break, to come together to form a government of national unity to solve the immediate problem. Take, for instance, we are talking of an election under this precarious insecurity problem. Everyday kidnapping, everyday killing, everyday murdering. And yet, our government has no solution. It has got to extend where criminals are now telling us, before we release some of your captured people, you must give us tramadol, asking the brother government to commit an illegality. You must give us cigarettes. You must give us petrol. Our government has become so incompetent that criminals are in a better position to detect terms. Oh, I don't know how you feel. Those of us who witnessed independence, who witnessed the country atmosphere before 1966, we feel sorry. It is only those of you who are born after 1966 who don't know what peaceful coexistence is, who don't know what federal constitution is, that can be happy about the situation. Those of us who have invested in a country like this, in a country that is united, a person like me, I have invested in Nigerian unity. I wouldn't be happy for the country to break. But all the conditions that will make the country stay together, we have been setting it regularly for the past years. But Buhari wouldn't listen because he has his own agenda. And when we talk about it, people say you don't like him. No. I told him some years ago that I hope it's not be too late for him to know that those of us who are clamoring for the restructuring of the country are those who love him, those who don't want the country to break. We are talking about election. Shehu, have we got the country now? Are you sure that you are going to the polling station, you have a bullet behind you? How are we sure that the polling officers, INEC, the officers, one of them are being killed, polling stations are being bombed? There is no evidence or solution to this. Every day kidnapping, every day murdering, every day, no road is safe. And you see, the government has proved that even within the government, there's no cohesion.
If I may quickly hop into, I'd like to ask, one of the recommendations that was made by Afenifere was that this government of national unity, because I'm still trying to, we're speaking to a lawyer of many, many, many years of experience. So we wanted you to explain to us how this will happen so as not to degenerate or cause anarchy. Because in essence, you're talking about the solutions to the Nigeria's problem. But before you touch on that, you said you have given the government of the day solutions to the problem. You have advised the government on the solutions to the problem. In specific, what are some of the advice that you have given this government that you think has not been taken seriously?
Well, about a year ago, when I addressed my meeting in my village, I said the question of changing this constitution is immediate and can be no problem. Ask all the nationalities in the country to make recommendations. And we'll go together and solve them. And it is simple. If you are not prepared to change, to have a new constitution, take the 2014 constitution and let us go into it. And I said this, Shehu, it is only Buhari who does not want this country to go together. It is only the Buhari who doesn't want the solution. Why? 2014 was recommended by Jonathan. He said, won't touch it. In 2018, El-Rufai, one of the strong men in his government, a government of Kaduna, he set up a committee to recommend on restructuring. They recommended restructuring in 2018. That is their party. In other words, those who are for Jonathan and his own government agreed, nothing doing. Now, again, at the railway tragedy, El-Rufai specifically accused this government, their security, that they should have prevented that incident where members were killed, abducted, because they know where they are. The federal government has not reacted to it. That's a lie. And we have been accusing this government again that he knows those who are behind Boko Haram, and I even accuse him of being collusion to it. Why do I say so? The security people he set up, General the former Air Force man, he came to the air and he said he has given the list of those who are behind Boko Haram to General Buhari. No action. The Attorney General of the Federation, Malami, also said they have 200 names of those who are backing Boko Haram. These are the people causing us trouble. That's about a year now. No action. What does that mean? That you know those who are troubling us, you keep quiet, nothing doing. And all the areas where the Fulani herdsmen have in southern Kaduna, in Makurdi, and all that, they have not recovered them. The governor of the Niger State said, well, about so many local governments have been captured by his area, and that you come and help him. Those areas have not been recovered up till now. More have been dangerous. The same thing the governor of Borno. Then where are we? Then you are talking of election. Is it when everybody is in the grave that we are going to have an election?
Yeah, if I'm coming again, the question here is, would it be fair to say that the government is not doing enough, considering the state of insecurity in the country, especially in the northeast region of the country, before President Buhari and the APC government took over power in 2015, and what is happening right now if you assess it critically and fairly?
My dear, except you are going to play up to the government, are you going to say that's an improvement? This is worse. When Jonathan was there in 2015, the thing is located on the northeast. Why are you trying to live in denial? Do you have to do any special inquiry before you know that? Zamfara, Kaduna, and all the parts of northwest, they are not as bad as this Jonathan was there. It comes to a stage where even the governor of Katsina, the governor of the state of the president, who is a major general, asked for mercenaries to come and help them. Asked for negotiation with bandits. Have we got a government that can prevent that? When even his own local, his own state is not safe. And many of the other government, state government are clamoring for help. Is it not a shame for us?
You're talking about this issue of restructuring, and this is not the first time. I mean, as long as I can remember, the matter of restructuring has been on the front burner for many, many years. Now, at the point where we are at right now, you spoke about 2014 Confab report, which you said is a fantastic idea that can be developed and worked on. But the government of the APC had said, look, restructuring means different things to different people. If you were to advise the government today, considering the present problems that we're facing in this country, what exactly should be done immediately on the issue of restructuring? Because also the government will tell you that they've taken this restructuring in piecemeal. They've tried to approach the issue of security. They tried to approach the issue of local government autonomy, autonomy of the judiciary. They've tried to approach it in the manner in which the law permits. But from your own standpoint, how do you think can this best be approached right now? A practical approach, that is.
Shehu, I wouldn't like you press me both in the print and the electronics to buy the propaganda and the unintelligent propaganda of the federal government, saying the structuring means different people to different people to different people. What is structuring? Or than saying restructure the country back to federalism. Federalism has no special decision. After Babala said it, everybody knows what is federalism. It is when we are trying to play off to the gallery, thinking that they are wise, when they are very illiterate. Unfortunately, they have lawyers there. And we have a person, a first-class lawyer, a professor, as the vice president, saying they don't know what is restructuring. They don't know what is federalism. They don't know what is devolution of power. And they try to insult us when they say, well, we don't understand restructuring, but they believe in state police. They believe in devolution of local government. They believe in this. What is restructuring? This is the sum total. This is what we say we should change this constitution. By the time we restructure, all these things we are saying that they are doing by piecemeal will be there.
I mean, because you mentioned that the government of national unity will midwife a new democratic government.
What?
So I'm asking for a legal process. How? Practical ways of how this can happen.
My dear, if the president is patriotic enough, all we are saying is that let him set up a committee to reconcile 2014 and Rufai recommendation. Within 3 months, we go and get what we are. Trying to pretend that we don't know what we want, what we see. Senator Adeyeye, in the second last republic, one of their senators, he said in the Senate, the problem of this country now is this constitution. It is not a question of amendment. It did a surgical operation. What are you amending? Who is amending what? Our case, you put it aside. We say we don't make this constitution. They have not refuted that. Every learned people, every person says this is a fraudulent constitution. Fraudulent. Who made it? They say we the people of Federal Republic. Did we make it? Absalom make it? The constitution is not federal. Is that how we run the federal government? And you are talking as if we have got the Shoyikas, Afe Babalolas, the country who knows the law. And we have an illiterate government now telling us what it to be. A great insult. My dear, anybody telling us they don't know what to do is just a pretense. That is why we say, well, if you don't know what to do...
Another issue Afenifere discussed and came out with a position on is how to tackle security in the region. And you made example of how Amotekun works in the southwest region of the country. And you said that the government should look at that model. But if the government were to adopt that model, although I'm not sure how that works within the frame of our federal constitution as it presently is captured right now, what would you say, or how would you say that the government can go about it if it's working in the southwest, particularly how can that work to tackle the banditry and the menace that we're seeing in the northwest?
My dear, I don't like you to continue to repeat this rigmarole of the federal government. You are saying they are doing this, they are doing that. The Amotekun, they have to go. How can you have Amotekun when they say they cannot carry arms? That's why we say it's unwilling to solve the problem. You talk of state police, and up to late now, OBJ, the former president, tell them, if you give them state police, it's a solution to the question of security. Let each state take care of its own security. Let them be armed to take care of their security. How can you take care of security of Ogbo here from Abuja? They know the terrain. How can you send somebody from Mina to Waya to go and take their security there? Do you know the terrain? This is a common sense of things, but my view is that it is not that Buhari doesn't know, but he has a private agenda which the press and everybody, you don't want to admit.
That's a very heavy allegation you have laid, Chief Adebanjo.
Yes, I mean it. I've said it before.
One citizen of the country.
It's a serious allegation.
Do you have any evidence?
Yes.
To that? I mean, that's
yes. You listen. I tell you, I have evidence. When I say he has a private agenda, we give him all these exercises. When I see come out to the air and tell us, oh, who is sending me a private agenda? I mean, well, why should I not give you state police? I'm all right with this. I'll talk to the nation. Since I've been in office, has he ever said the Mayday? That's the president of the country. When he wants to talk to us, he goes abroad. When he wants to talk to us, he sends addition on Garba Shehu, who knows next to nothing. They just paid up to the gallery. We are past that. Those of us who know how this country came into existence cannot tolerate all this rigmarole. They are all paying to the government to say, well, even you pressmen, when you went to criticize, you pretend as if you don't know. You say, but the government is doing fine. What is it doing for well? What's the value of my Naira in 2015? What's the value now? How much I will buy petrol in 2015? How much is it now? And you see, this is so much. The vice president, who is the vice president, now said that I want to succeed him and continue his work and continue the insecurity, continue the poverty, continue the malfunctioning of our roads. Roads are not fair. Air is not fair. Sea is not fair. Even your house, you are not free. You cannot travel now from here to Ibadan without thinking whether we are safe. And you say, can you go from Abuja to Ekiti and be sure that you come back without security people around you? Is that how we live in a country? And the president has not come to us to show us, all these things will come down. All the time we are talking about seriousness of the security. What evidence have you seen that the thing is reducing the volume?
Let's anchor on this note, sir. And it's on the issue that you raised at the Greater Nigeria Conference about 2023. Although I know your position and that of Afenifere is that something drastic must be done before we go into that election. That's the position you have held. But you also held a position about the issue of zoning, which has caused a lot of stir and controversy. I mean, what is your defense, or what is the reasons why you hold the view that a certain region of the country has more right to become Nigeria's president than any other region of the country?
This is one of the things I say, all of you are living in denial. You say you want one country. And those of us who made the Constitution, in order to get everybody inclusive, those who thought they cannot catch up with the rest of the country if they have independence, particularly the North. I am a living witness. This thing I've been doing before you were born, and those who are talking now. It is because of this inclusiveness we put federal character in the Constitution, which the military government abrogated under the new Constitution now. And because the northern region at that time, led by Saudana, feared that they cannot cope with the rest of the country. They said they are not ready for independence. That is why we had our independence in installment. The East and the West had their independence in 1957. We have to wait for the northern region to get their own 1959 before we could get our independence in 1960. All these are on record. And in order to show that we won't cheat you, we make sure that, however, the way we distribute government functionary and all that, you will be included. And we make sure that every region is not cheated. That was what led to zoning. That was why when they knew that Abiola won the election and there was trouble in the country, they want to persuade the Western region, the Yoruba people, by bringing Obasanjo in. Although we rejected him because the ministers have no right to give us who to represent us. That was why I voted against him.
So in an attempt to pacify us, they bring in Shoneko, thinking that the moment leader will say, no, we must choose our leader. Then when there was going to be an election now in 1999, they said, all right, because in order to pacify the West, all the political parties chose their candidate from the Southwest. It's on record. Then Obasanjo had 8 years. When he left, he went to the North. Yadua came in. Unfortunately, he couldn't complete his Jonathan had to complete. And after he died, Jonathan came in from the South. Then he returned to the North again. Now, Jonathan did 5 years. Buhari had done 8 years. He's come back to the South. If you come back to the South, is it fair? Is it inclusive? Does it make for unity? For those who have had the share of being president in the South, should have it again? After Obasanjo has done 8 years, Oshiba, you have done vice president 8 years, Jonathan has done 5 years. The South is not in the country. It's not part of Nigeria, and you want peace. It's a question of principle. It's a question of morality. It's a question of being inclusive in everything we do. If you want peace, you must have equity. Is it equitable?
We unfortunately need to.
And when the people now say they want to go, say no.
Time, sir. Chief Ayo Adebanjo, the national leader of a socio-political group, Afenifere, thank you so much for talking to us tonight. Chief Adebanjo speaking to us from his home country, Isonya Ogbo, in Ogun State, Southwest Nigeria. We take a break, everyone. And when we return, we take the conversation forward on these subjects. We're looking for solutions, and we get the view of a former federal lawmaker and the then Director General of the MQ Abiola Campaign Organization, Senator Jonathan Zwangina, joins me next on the program, Fixing the Nation's Challenges. Tactics after action. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Welcome back. Let's take the conversation forward, everyone, shall we? I'm being joined now by a former senator who got elected twice to represent Adamawa State in the Senate. He was in the 1999 and 2003 class of senators in the red chambers. He was elected on the platform of the PDP. Then he ran the MQ Abiola Campaign Organization in 1993, which saw the victory of the SDP and Abiola in that election. Senator Jonathan Zwangina joins me now live here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. The problems, we've invited you to talk about Nigeria's problems, which, of course, I know some of these things that you have talked about several years. But let's take it away from what Afenifere, the position of Afenifere, first and foremost. We are not hearing for the first time, not only from Afenifere, we've heard from Chief Afe Babalola, like Chief Adebanjo said, that there have been a lot of Nigerians who have given that position that we cannot go on like this. There needs to be a drastic decision. Do you believe or agree for the concept of a government of national unity or an interim government? Can we go into the 2023 election like this?
Well, thank you very much, Sean, and good evening, viewers. First and foremost, I would say that the decision or position of Afenifere, position of Chief Afe Babalola, and many others are valid, and they have rights to those positions because the democratic atmosphere provides for opinions here and there. And they have very strong positions, and I think some of them are important. However, we have to look at the context of the solutions we are bringing on board. It would appear that we have become fairly used to the military way of doing things. That most people think that if you want to do, for example, restructuring, you wake up in the morning, you announce a number of states. You wake up in the morning, you announce some solutions. In a democratic dispensation, the downside of it is that you just have to have patience, and you have to procedure, and you have to abide by a constitution. There is no way you can have a constitution and walk aside it and begin to talk about
a government of national unity. Government of national unity usually arises where there's a total breakdown of order.
Are we close to such
of governance? No, certainly not. We have differences. We have differences in opinions between the parties and among the groups. Those are valid, and every government has that. And I would say that it will not be a wise thing in an election year to be talking about a government of national unity. What we ought to do is to ask the political parties to take specific positions on all these issues and proffer to Nigerians options and solutions which will guide their choice of the next leadership in the country. And these are matters of debate. And I would say, Seun, that it is not just the opposition or other parties that are in opposition that are giving different opinions. Even within the ruling party, for instance, there are candidates and aspirants who have various ways and suggestions on how to resolve these matters. So it's not as if people are short of ideas. What we're trying to do is that we have an election coming. And the election is the best time, is the best opportunity for people to make profound choices for the nation.
All right, Senator, look at the position and the premise upon which Afenifere is making that recommendation that says that under the President Muhammadu Buhari government, it has shown that the government is incapable and unwilling to tackle the identified problems, especially that of insecurity problems. And so they want a new government of national unity to midwife a new democratic government. How do you react to that?
The answer is simple. If you contest the ability of the current government or the president to handle security matters, fine. You go to the election and choose the candidate of a party that will give you these suggestions. And there are so many of them. The PDP has suggestions. Other parties have suggestions. Even within the APC, there are people with different opinions on how to resolve this matter. The issue of policy difference is not enough to have a government of national unity.
Do you agree that there is an incapability or incapacity of government and the willingness of government to tackle the issue?
That gives a reason for election. That is the reason. In fact, you have just stated the main reason for election, which is go there, convince the people that there is incapacity and get them to vote that government out and bring another one. That is a democracy. But you don't go and dismantle the entire structure because you don't agree with the way one side is channeling it. That is totally unconstitutional. It is unheard of. It is outside the constitutional practices in existence anywhere in the world. And this is not the way to run affairs. If you bring it down and you say government of national unity, are you going to import Nigerians from outer space to come and run it? The same Nigerians you are complaining about here, you put them together to come and work on this. So it's better you take them to the election. These are election matters. And we should not confuse election matters, which will guide us to choose party A, party B, party C, and candidate A, candidate B. These are important issues about which Nigerians should reflect before going to the ballot box.
Do you think that we can go into an election like this?
Oh,
because
there's nothing wrong. Oh, absolutely.
I very believes that Nigeria is not secure enough for us to go. That in fact, the issue of elections should be a second, thought. We need to resolve some of this problem before going to the election.
No. You can never resolve problems with that choice. An election is a part of choice. You can resolve these matters by putting in place candidates or aspirants in parties that go close to the suggestions you are making. If you say a government of national unity, someone is going to appoint that government. The ruling government or some other people who have influence are going to nominate the people, and you will start complaining again.
So you think
the important thing is let people decide.
Do you think that idea is extra-constitutional?
No, completely unconstitutional. Not even extra-constitutional. It's actually unconstitutional because you're going outside the ambit of law.
All right, let's listen, Senator, to Chief Afebabalola. He's a legal luminary, and perhaps there is no aspect of our laws in this country that he has not experienced how it was birthed or how he was inspired. Take a listen to Chief Afebabalola. He was one of those, or one person who moved to the idea of an interim government. He says 6 months before the next election. Can we have that? Take a listen to him.
Life is unbearable for the ordinary people. There's unemployment. Nigeria has become the capital city for poverty. You are unsafe on the road, you are unsafe in your house, you are safe on the farm. So those who are governing us have a duty to look into that. And I'm happy the House of Representatives noted that. We people, including my poor self, as far back as 2001, had been complaining about this constitution, which is a problem, cause of our problem. But those who are benefiting from it are not ready to amend it or to allow a new constitution. That was the reason why I said, before you go, which people don't understand, set up an interim government. Since you are not ready to do it, interim government can do so before an election, so that we can have new set of people in accordance with our constitution who can make Nigeria a better place and save it from drowning completely.
You heard what Chief Afebabalola said?
I heard what the respected legal luminary has said, but I am a bit at a loss as to the constitution he's talking about. This constitution we are operating is essentially the 1999 constitution, and it's essentially the 1979 constitution. This particular constitution, except 3 clauses, was the constitution that was midwife by Chief Rotimi Williams as chairman. And the same constitution that Justice Udo Udoma chaired the Constitutional Assembly. The same constitution, nothing has changed. The only difference is number of states that has moved sometimes from 30 to 36. The other one is perhaps local governments that have increased, and 1 or 2 others. All other aspects of this constitution are derived from 1979 constitution. And that 1979 constitution is a constitution under Chief Awolowo contested an election. Nnamdi Azikiwe contested an election. They never contested the veracity or the validity of the constitution. They abided by it and contested the election with it. And it is the same constitution that we're operating now. Some people are saying the military brought it. This constitution was put together by politicians, by civilians, and presided over by learned jurists in this country, highly respected. And most of these criticisms we have had on the constitution, in my view, have forgotten to take account of the origins of this constitution. Secondly, this constitution has undergone some amendments, right from various democratic governments, one way or the other. You cannot amend a constitution by announcing in the military style a change in the order of doing things. You have to first and foremost present a bill to be discussed by the National Assembly, Senate and House of Reps, then forward it to the states and get the concurrence of 24 state houses of assembly, and then bring it back to the National Assembly, forward it to the president to sign before it becomes a constitutional amendment. And these have been going on step by step. But we are even moving faster than the United States did their amendment.
No, but I mean, a lot of those who are advocating for restructuring, because a question Afenifere has raised, posed, is that Afenifere is reiterating his position that restructuring of the Nigerian state must take place before the much talked about 2023 elections. Now, the question is that there are fundamental portions of that constitution that needs to be changed, altered.
Absolutely.
Totally. I mean,
present your bill to the National Assembly.
And the belief is that our problems today, the Constitution is not proffering solutions to them.
Wonderful, Sheun. Present your bill to the National Assembly. Everybody in Nigeria has a senator representing their constituency, member of a House of Reps, members of Houses of Assembly. Use them, pressurize them, guide them. Present it to a public debate.
But it doesn't look like it's working.
Well, it's not working because people have not been using those avenues.
Are you blaming the National Assembly?
No.
Because who do you think should take charge?
The National Assembly is the right place to have a constitutional discussion. It is the right place to bring an amendment. And if you have issues to be amended or you believe should be amended and have not brought them forward to the National Assembly, because the National Assembly has a standing constitutional amendment chaired by the Deputy Speaker at all times, now, or the Deputy Senate President. These are issues that should be forwarded to the constitutional
amendment. Who should take that responsibility?
Every citizen.
The blame has been put on the present government of President Buhari that is not committed. For example, the 2014 Confab report. I mean, the blame you heard what
that is a wrong blame.
That is not taking action on implementing that 2014 Confab report.
That blame is not taking it into context. The Constitutional Conference was put together by a government, chaired by a president, which did not implement even one item of that agenda and left it to the next government, which had completely no responsibility to it. So if you are going to set up a conference, a national conference, set it within your term.
Isn't it the same? I mean, they say government is a continuum. They say isn't it a same country that we are in?
A party system is a different matter, because this is a party policy.
But the problem of the country has not changed.
It has not changed, but you needed to do it early enough, and you needed to set an example of implementing some areas even of that conference. And secondly, you chose the people. They were all appointed, and they were appointed by the president, his ministers, the SGF, and other people. In fact, in some states, governors came to complain that the nominations they made were set aside, which meant that it would appear an entirely put together a system where the government was in charge of those who came. So those who were not part of that government are likely to feel left out. And you cannot hold an APC government responsible to implement a PDP conference.
Senator, if you were President Buhari today, and you have heard from Professor Wole Soyinka, Chief Ayo Adebanjo, Chief Afefa Babalola, and they're saying almost the same thing, what and how would you react? What would you do?
Oh, there are many things that one can do. First and foremost, you have agencies of government responsible for all these things. You change the personnel and look around and find other people that may have different ideas of doing it. That is what governments do all over the world. You can do that. You can change the personnel. You can bring in new people. You can, because no president alone sits down and takes decisions. He is advised by a coterie of advisors, experts, and technocrats. You can do that. You can set up committees. You can do all of that. You don't need to throw the whole gamut of structure away just because you're looking for a solution, because you may end up coming with a solution.
President Buhari is doing the right thing.
President Buhari is trying, but you may disagree with the way he's going about it. Therefore, you go to election, convince people, and let them give you a different government that you think can do what you want.
All right.
That is how democracy works. There are people who will disagree with the way he's going about it, and many have done that.
Right.
The point I'm making is that this is the best opportunity to go to the democratic process and put in place an argument for other political parties, other political individuals to come forward, offer their suggestions, and have an election that will produce a government. That's what democratic governments do all over the world.
I'd like us to anchor on one of the issues raised with Chief Adebanjo, and is that of zoning. He believes that the southeast region of the country should produce the next president. I know you support a certain aspirant in the APC, but what is your position, or what is your, I mean, how would you react to what Chief Adebanjo's position is on the issue of zoning for 2023?
Well, I think the issue of zoning is understandable. But we must look at the fact that the issue of zoning first arose within the context of the military era, and then the context of the crisis of June 12. Now, the way the zoning has been crafted now is looking like it is going to be almost by fiat. Zoning is a matter that should be discussed among political parties and arrived at within the consensus of political parties, and not to be forced or compelled on the political personnel or the individuals or government to enforce it. You will see that even the party that champions zoning, which is the PDP, eventually itself has virtually set it aside, because those who are championing zoning have not canvassed for it enough, or with enough energy, or with enough conviction. And so It has not, it's a democracy, and it is what the majority of the people want.
But for fairness and justice and equity, do you think the Southeast this time around should have a
Well,
shot?
not only the Southeast, the North Central has not had, even the Southeast had a president. The North Central did not have. Fairness and justice required that they too should have. Fairness and justice required that Northeast should have, although they had a prime minister. But I can tell you that fairness and justice, not just the Southeast. They are talking about it, they are right, yes, but North Central has not had anything at all. So it's even more in deficit of representation in government than Southeast. So if it is fairness and justice, the broom will have to sweep very far. What I'm saying is, all the rights of people who want a representation in government are valid, but we have to look at certain representation. Under the government of President Goodluck, the dominant zone in that government was the Southeast. They practically dominated 90% of the economy, completely. People did not complain. They gave them the right to do that because some of them were competent, qualified, and were appointed to those positions. But they did not scream to high heavens. Now, politically, there are also people from the Southeast and other zones who are everywhere. What the Southeast should do is that their elite should engage in discussion with other elites from the other zones with respect to the need for them to have a go at the presidency.
All right.
But even then, there is no president in Nigeria, including Obasanjo, who contested on the basis of being left alone because he comes from a zone of preference. When General Obasanjo contested, there were other people who were not from the Southwest that stood election with him. Oh. I remember Rimi came out and contested with him in Jos. Yeah. I was at the convention in Jos. Rimi contested. Later in the next election, there were other contestants from the North that came out, despite the fact that this thing had been zoned to the Southwest. So there is no zoning arrangement that is going to preclude, because the Constitution itself does not recognize it.
Thank you so much, Senator Jonathan Swingina. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
But that's our show for tonight. It's Labor Day. Congratulations to all workers across the country. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sure Kimale enjoyed the rest of your evening.